Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Talking Cryptocurrency podcast. I'm your host, Jason Rigden. On this episode of the show, we are talking to Ali Ayyash of Lumeos. Lumeos is building a decentralized infrastructure for sharing data. Before we get to the interview, I have this quick message. Hello, if you like this episode and you want to hear more like it, please make sure you subscribe to the podcast. That way you'll get every single episode. The Talking Cryptocurrency podcast is available on all podcast clients. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. And if podcasts aren't your thing, I publish video versions of these interviews on YouTube and DTube, so you can subscribe there too. All the links to all that stuff is going to be in the show notes. So please, if you want to hear more of this show, subscribe. Hello, and today I'm here with Ali Ayyash of Lumeos. How are you today?
Hey, I'm pretty good. How's it going, Jason?
I'm doing pretty good. So you've got quite the project here. Could you tell me a little bit about the problems you're trying to solve with it?
Cool, yeah. So, the main idea is the problem with the way we share online data today. So what I noticed is the paradigm since the early internet boom was people will share information online without caring about their privacy or anything of that sort. And anytime they share data, they're not really owning what they are sharing. It's mostly owned by the centralized companies that these users are sharing their data with. So whether it's social media, news, blogs, and whatnot, they basically don't own any of the data that they're sharing. And that is the core of the problem that we're trying to solve here. We want to make sure that any information, whether it's data or personal metadata, is owned by the actual user. And the other problem that comes into play by not owning your data is that you don't have full control over its privacy. Until recently, major companies like, I guess, Facebook did not actually put a lot of privacy controls to the users. It's not until recently they started educating the users about the importance of privacy and all that. And then the bugs that are happening that end up leaking so much information, like Cambridge Analytica, brought that to the surface as well. So that's basically ownership of the data and then the privacy of that same data. And then the last problem is the monetization aspect. In the previous model, you did not own any kind of information, any data yourself, but the companies own it. And what they did, they gave you their services for free. So for instance, you use Facebook for free, but then they ended up monetizing everything else. So they make a lot of revenue. And it's estimated to be last year, it was around $250 billion market. And that's just revenue from user data that the user did not see anything of. And the goal of Lumeos is to solve all these three problems: data ownership, privacy, and monetization, by using the decentralized ledger, which is a blockchain.
So how are you going to be solving this problem?
Yeah, so what we did is so up until recently, before blockchain, it was very difficult to do something like this because the centralized model was the one that is used by everyone. But now with the decentralization, we can actually allow the user to have full control of their data through a private key, just like they have full control over their cryptocurrency. And the way it works is through using encryption. So now the user can open up an app, which is a Lumeos app. They can put in their metadata like age, gender, location, employer, school, and that data will be encrypted through the through the password you generate on the phone, just like private keys are encrypted. And they will be only stored on the phone, and they will be under their account on the blockchain. And for that, we're using the EOS blockchain, which is very quick and a lot cheaper than other blockchains that are in existence today. And what we did is we developed a patent pending system that will enable the users to do this encryption securely and under their EOS accounts through the mobile phones. So now that the data is only owned by you, you have full control over its privacy. So what we provide as part of Lumeos is privacy controls so that we can prevent people from accessing your data unless you want to give them permission through a key that you give them access to on the blockchain. And that itself is now that you control it. So privacy, you can fully control the monetization aspect of it. And you do that by enabling apps or users to access your metadata in exchange for X amount of tokens. So the Lumeos tokens that we're launching is mainly a means of exchange between user data and what they're planning to share online.
So it'd still be the same kind of system, though, where the advertisers would be able to more target the users.
Correct, but now at least like you can shut that down. You can increase the privacy levels as much as you want. You can remove them completely. The more data you share, and if you're comfortable sharing it, the more tokens you'll make because now the advertisers know more information about you. So in the end, like we'll have a big data marketplace that is not owned by us as a company, but we're enabling the users to own their own data and monetize it the way they want.
So they'd actually get more from their personal data than they're getting right now. Right now, they're kind of getting the bare minimum.
Correct. Right now, they're only getting these free services like Facebook and Twitter, I guess, without getting like the extra benefit, especially if their data is worth a lot. For instance, if you're an influencer on Facebook, you will be able to do some monetization. But if you're like just a random user, you don't see any of that. So it's just a missed opportunity, in my opinion.
And how will this look on the consumer's end or the users?
Yeah, so the idea is a pretty vague. So what we tried to do is we built a proof of concept application that is revolving only around polling. So right now on the Lumeos app, what you can do is you can put in the information, which gets encrypted and stored and all that. But you can also use it for answering polls that we create. And whenever you answer a poll, you're basically giving the poll creator access to your age, gender, location, without knowing that this was you who answered it. So the creator of the poll will never have the full personal identifiable information. They will just know that someone who is a male, who's 25, who's in San Francisco, have answered this poll. And then now the poll creator will have a full aggregate of the data of what everyone has said, but again, anonymized and aggregated. And that itself will basically sell it to user research companies, to advertisers, and anyone who's interested in the poll or whoever created the poll in the first place. And the cost that is associated with that poll gets back to the user in the form of the Lumeos cryptocurrency.
And is there a limit on the kinds of information you can be collecting?
Yeah. So as of right now, we wanted to start with something super simple until we get until we get trusted by our users. So we just started with gender, location, age, employer, and school. And later on, we want to attach more and more information about the user. For instance, like which skills they are experts in, which cities they have visited. And then later on, we'll add even more information like behavior information, like this user likes to travel and he recently traveled there. This user is interested in buying a car. This user has went to this event, and then like that is basically what I mean by personal metadata. It's the stuff that you already are sharing with a lot of companies, but you as a user never realized how important that data is. And that is the basic idea behind Lumeos. We're trying to empower the users to learn that data is very valuable.
So what have been some of the challenges of developing this project?
Yeah, I mean, just coming up with a system that tries to put private information on a public ledger, that was one of the toughest point of the project. Fortunately, after we were able to solve it with the help of one of our cryptography expert advisors, we were able to pretty much like realize that the system is very valuable, and that's where we decided to patent it. And coming up with that was not an easy feat in itself. Other than that, I guess right now we're just like growing, and that's like the fun part of the project.
So then what are your plans for the future?
We want to expand as quickly as possible within the crypto community and outside crypto as well. So our goal right now is to target user research for crypto companies that have built some MVPs, some products, and they don't know whether their users are going to like it or not. These are the companies basically that pretty much like done an ICO or collected some money, and then they built something very quickly, and they want to try to get their users to use their applications. So what they can do is they can create. What we're doing is we're working with a few companies that like that to sign up on our platform and create polls and target our community that we built. We built around 1,000, 2,000 users so far. Hopefully, we want to grow it further. But then afterwards, we'll basically they'll pay us, and then we'll give all the tokens back to the users who've participated in these user research. Later on, we want to expand outside of crypto and into more enterprise. That's why we're building like a feature for communities. So we'll have small communities like either college communities or employers communities, and then like focus more on crowdsourcing and polls for diversified crowds.
And will people be able to build their own services on Lumeos?
Yes, that's the idea. So we're trying to partner with a few EOS dApps right now. We know of like at least 50 new dApps that are launching on EOS, probably even a lot more this year. And the idea is that pretty much every single app that launches will want access to like this kind of information. And the way it works is they will, as long as they know the EOS account user, they can actually know the data immediately. And then through our application itself, Lumeos, the user can give privacy to these kind of applications, the other dApps that are running on EOS, if they want to give them access to extra information. And the payment method is like pretty much similar, where they provide whenever they profit from accessing the user information, they will have to pay the user for that kind of data through our Lumeos token.
Have any privacy advocates came to you to talk to you about this system? It seems much more preferable than the current system.
I've seen this paradigm a lot now recently, mainly with the rise of I guess Cambridge Analytica was kind of the trigger for this. Like I've seen a lot of people proponents for privacy, but for sure, after what happened with like Mark Zuckerberg going to the Congress, there's a lot of talks about the importance of privacy. To answer your question, no one has reached out. But we do have a lot of fans in our community right now that we built on Telegram who are very big proponents of extra privacy, and these are like the people who like basically uninstalled Facebook and wanted to make sure to still be able to share some information with their friends as long as they are in full control of their privacy.
So oftentimes people are very concerned about their own privacy, but on the business side, it's very helpful to be able to get this demographic information. I think some people kind of forget that about how important that is to sell even like small products to people.
Yeah, I realized enterprises mostly care about aggregated data. So in a sense, now that your data itself is anonymized and aggregated, it's fine for somebody to access it. That's why we were trying to do that with our polling system as like the more difficult proof of concept of how you can access users' information without pointing out directly who that person is.
What made you choose EOS?
Yeah, I've been researching EOS versus Ethereum versus other blockchains, and in the end, EOS pretty much won my checkboxes at least. So basically, in addition to promising, and right now it's already have achieved thousands of transactions per second, EOS would actually scale with us, allowing us to reach millions of users within a couple of years. Unlike Ethereum, which right now has yet to get to production some of their scaling features that they promised some time back. But most importantly is the user friendliness of EOS. I believe in a few years from now, we'll look back and think, hey, I actually forgot my private key. In the past, when we used to forget our private keys, we're pretty much done for. But in the case of an EOS blockchain, you can actually have a lot more it's more grandma friendly in the sense that you can actually reset your private key if you lost it. You can use the applications that dApp developers have built without having to know much about blockchain in the first place. So it will basically pretty much drive adoption to mainstream faster than what building on other blockchains would do.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's a very interesting project. I'll make sure you have all the links in the show notes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Ali, for coming on the show. If you want to learn more about Lumeos, check out the show notes. I've got all the links right down there. You've been listening to the Talking Cryptocurrency podcast. My name is Jason Rigden, and I have been your host. Thank you so much for listening to the show. If you liked it, would you please consider giving us a rating and a review on iTunes? I look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great day.